Alright class, so today we're going to do the parallel equation, linear equation. I don't know, whoops. That should say linear equations, that should say perpendicular lines, whoops. Should probably fix that later. So parallel and perpendicular lines. So we are, so basically what we were talking about earlier today, we're just trying to make an equation that's either parallel or perpendicular. And you want to essentially, well, you're going to be given a point. So let's talk about the ones we want to talk about. I just lost my pencil. It's right here. So we're going to write the slope-intercept form of the equation of the line described. So here we're given it a point, 5 comma negative 5. Oh, that looks familiar. Parallel to y equals 1 over negative 5x plus 2. So that's our point. That's what we're given. And we want to we want the line to go through that point, and you want it to be parallel. So because it's parallel, that means we want the same slope. So same slope. So because we want the same slope, we want let me start my timer. We want to identify the slope. So we know this is in slope intercept form, so y equals mx plus b, where m is your slope. So that means here our slope is negative 1/5. So that's our slope. We know what's going into this equation, so we're going to use our modified standard form. So that's going to be y equals m parentheses x minus x1 parentheses plus y1. Here are our x and y1. Again, you have to label it. So that's one of the first things you should do. This is x1, this is y1. Remember, read from x comma y. So we're going to plug it in. We have y equals, our m is negative 1/5, parentheses x minus 5, not plus, minus 5. So again, this positive 5 is going in, whoa, don't do that. This positive 5 is going in here. But notice how I already have a negative 5, so that's getting dropped down. So that's where I'm not switching them. That's an x. It just has to be a negative. Think of it like you're doing the opposite sign. That's what it is. And the same goes to this one. Here we have a positive y, or we have a y1. We're taking it from that y. So you plug it in, probably one of the easier steps. Then you're going to do distributive property. So the distributive property, you're going to multiply that negative 1/5 to both terms. The first term is really easy. You're just doing negative 1/5 x. When you multiply a variable, it's just the same number in x. They just put them together. The other part's the tricky part. That's the one we're going to have to do off to the side. So that's negative 1/5 times negative 5. But notice how that's a fraction times a whole number. So because of that, we have to put a 1 underneath. So because we do that, now we multiply. When we multiply fractions, we multiply straight across. Negative 1 times negative 5 is, you guys can say it out loud, 5, positive 5. 5 times 1 is 5. So 5 divided by 5, I don't know what happened there. Oh no, hold on. 5 divided by 5, that becomes 1. So we're going to put positive 1. Because we got a positive number, remember, negative times negative is a positive. Then you drop down that negative 5. That just goes straight down, since that's that's just a part of the equation. So then I go straight down. Now we want to combine those terms, that positive 1 and that negative 5. So again, think of it like money. You have $1. You owe me $5. You go pay me back. Well, you still owe me money. You owe me $4. The other way, as some of you guys were saying, notice how that 5 is bigger than the 1. Well, the 5 has a negative. So because of that, you put a negative down, and all you do is subtract those two numbers. So you have 5, you minus 1, that gets you 4. And that's your equation right there. Pretty straightforward. That's for parallel. Pause the video, rewatch it if you need to, so hopefully that can help you out. I'm going to do number 4 now. So number 4, again, if you forgot, perp stands for perpendicular. I don't know why it just abbreviated it for you. So this is perpendicular. And if we want perpendicular, that means we want opposite. So opposite reciprocals. So for it to be opposite reciprocals, we need to look at our equation. That's our slope. That means our slope is negative 1/4, but we want the opposite reciprocal of it. So why does it keep making shapes? So we want our opposite reciprocal. So our opposite reciprocal of negative 1/4 is going to be a positive number, and you're going to flip those numbers. That 1/4 is now going to be 4/1. So that's our new slope now. Our x1 is going to be 2. Our y1 is going to be 5, because remember we read x comma y. That's how we read these. Do your equation again. Y equals m x minus x1 plus y1. So we want to plug those in. Sorry, I just forgot what I was doing. So we're gonna have 4/1. You can also put, one thing I want to point out, 4/1 is the same thing as 4. So it doesn't really matter. I'm just gonna do this as 4. Just because, I don't know, it seems easy, it looks easier for you guys, and it just makes more sense. So I'm going to put 4, parentheses, x minus 2, and then plus 5. Again, you're getting that 2, you're plugging into x1, you're getting that 5, you're plugging it into y1. You go in, now you got to distribute. Times that 4 on all the terms. You get 4 times x, and then you get negative 8 plus 5. Now you have those two terms. Again, combine them. Now you have y equals 4x. Again, notice that 8 is bigger than 5. 8 is a negative number, so you put the negative sign. So now you do 8 minus 5. That gets you 3. And that is your answer. So that equation is perpendicular to the one that we have. You can also do these graphing if you would like. You could just graph it and then draw a line that with the opposite reciprocal of this, but we'll talk about that later in the future. I'm going to do one more problem on the back side. I think you guys can do parallel lines. Since it's same, so again, you have to remember parallel means same slope. So parallel is same slope. So I'm pretty sure you guys can do parallel lines. Perpendicular, that's the one where you're going to have to do that extra step, that opposite reciprocal. So perpendicular is opposite. I'll write the whole thing. Reciprocal. So because of that, we're going to do number 3. So again, pretty straightforward. This one's a little tricky because you have a number here. So that number, ooh, it's scary. But honestly, it's pretty straightforward. So what you're going to do is, so your slope is 4. But when you want to flip it, notice that it's not in a fraction. So we got to make it into a fraction. So just like how when you multiply fractions and whole numbers, you're going to make this into a fraction. So it's 4/1. Well, when you flip it, it's 1/4. But notice how this is a positive number. That means this one has to be negative. So that's our slope. Again, same equation. Y equals mx minus x1 plus y1. So you plug that in. So plug this in here. Plug this in here. And then plug this in here. Ooh, this one's going to make really get you thinking. So when we plug it in, we have y equals, plug it in straightforward. Don't worry about the negatives just yet. So you're going to have negative 1/4, parentheses, x minus, ooh, this has a negative 4. So you're going to put another negative there, parentheses, plus 3. Now, as you can see, we're kind of in a predicament. I have a double negative here. Now remember, what happens when you have a double negative? That means you have a positive. So 2 negatives make a positive. So then here we're going to have x plus 4. We write everything down. I don't know if you guys can hear Harley. She's crying. She wants my attention. So we have negative 1/4, parentheses x plus 4, and parentheses plus 9. Same thing. We're going to distribute. So you notice how that's all that happened. Just because that negative was there, nothing changed. It just meant that you had a double negative, so it became positive. If anything, for some of you guys, that means it's easier now all of a sudden. So you distribute. You put the negative 1/4 x. So now we have negative 1/4 times 4. Again, you put the 1 under because you want to make it into a fraction. You can multiply straight across, or if some of you guys remember, you can cross cancel. If you know how to cross cancel, do it. If you don't, that's fine. You could just do it, multiply straight across, it's just as easy. So negative 1 times 4 is negative 4. 4 times 1 is 4. Negative 4 divided by 4 is negative 1. So you're going to plug in a negative 1 here, and you're going to drop down to 3. Combine these, again, 3 is bigger than 1, so you're going to put a positive, actually. 3 is a positive number, so you should put a positive here. So it's going to be plus, and 3 minus 1 is 2. And that is our answer. Pretty straightforward. Hope that helps you out. Let me know if you have any questions. The bottom half is just because I split it in half. So that should be pretty easy, pretty straightforward. I think you guys can do it from here on out. Alright, see you guys tomorrow.